Hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk. On this episode, we're going to answer the question of how do you handle promoting multiple offers to your audience without confusing them? And what I'm going to share with you is how we use this method-based selling system that allows you to sell multiple offers without confusing your audience so you never lose a customer again, and all without you needing some uber complicated system to try and keep it all together. So let's get real. Now, a few years ago, I had an amazing friend who came to me and she was ready to buy a new car. She had spent months going back and forth talking about how she was ready to get this new car and she just needed to go in and bite the bullet. Now, one day after months of going back and forth, we talked about the different car options and I asked her what type of car she was looking to get. Her response was something that fits all the kids. So one day after dropping her kids off at school, she drove down to the car dealership with checkbook in hand and was prepared to come home with a new car. She spent hours on this car lot looking at every car model imaginable. And when she left and got home, she sent me a text saying, I think I'm just going to wait and keep the car that I already have. Now, I was dumbfounded because my first question to her is, what the heck happened? You were totally dead set on buying this car. And what she shared with me was something that I find so valuable and I see so often in the business world as well. She said, I spent 4 hours looking at cars, test driving, checking them all out, and I walked away feeling more confused than when I got there. I have no idea what car I should get, and I didn't want to choose the wrong one and be stuck with it for the next 5 years. So I think I'm just going to stick with this car. Now, 2 years later, you guessed it, she's still driving her old car, and I swear that she left with some form of buyer PTSD. And I'm sure that you've been through the same experience yourself many times, whether that be as the consumer walking in, trying to make a purchase for yourself, or being the business owner where somebody seems so sure and ready, but ends up not buying. And what ends up happening is we walk in with an interest and we start to check things out, and you either end up confused about what's really being offered, or maybe there's just too many choices and you don't know what's the right fit for you because it's all just too hard, you're too busy, and there's too many things going on. So you just decide to wait because a confused buyer doesn't buy. Now, we've seen this over and over again in our own businesses, but what you may not realize is the side effects that come from promoting multiple offers to an audience that ends up being confused. Not only does your audience walk away feeling confused, but you end up juggling your marketing and leaving a lot of opportunities for these breaking points. You oftentimes repel premium clients completely inadvertently, especially if you have an open and closed cart process in your business. And you also increase the time it takes for someone to actually make a purchase because they want to make sure that they're making the right decision. And confusion is the enemy of an easy yes. Buyers want to be sure. They want to be certain that they've made the right choice regarding the item or service that they're getting. They want to feel like they've picked the best brand, the best model, and they want to be sure that they're paying the best price for it. So how do we make our marketing so clear that you never lose a customer again, and without you needing some uber complicated systems to keep it all together? Now, what I'm going to show you today is our revolutionary approach to marketing and what I call method-based selling. And the best part is that it removes the need for more marketing, even if you have multiple offers, and it creates faster conversions. So to talk about what method-based selling looks like, we first need to understand what the most common advice is when it comes to selling multiple offers. And here are just a few of the ways that we've been taught right now to sell multiple offers in our audience. One is to sell your highest ticket offer. And when we sell our highest ticket offer, that people will just naturally start to inquire if they aren't qualified for your highest ticket offer. And yeah, to an extent, this is true that your diehard fans will ask about your different options, but many and most likely they won't. Because imagine that you thought all Ferraris were $100,000. You most likely wouldn't want to walk into a Ferrari dealership to ask if they had cheaper options. You'd go look for an alternative. That's why businesses spend so much money and resources on educating their audience on the new offers and products that they create, because your audience has been conditioned to how they see you and buy from you. And typically they seek the easiest pathway to their solution. Now, another option we've been taught is just have multiple funnels. And we see this all the time where people have multiple funnels to meet people based on the offer that they're promoting, which means we find ourselves having multiple audiences and even going as far as having to create separate social media so that we can send people to the right things, or having multiple ads to multiple different funnels to multiple different offers, all of which, let's be real, is really freaking exhausting. And not to mention, each funnel requires its own messaging, its own marketing process, and its own set of hurdles and barriers to fix along the way. And you're stuck spending all of your time making sure that all the pieces work and trying to figure out how to get one funnel to lead to the next one. Not to mention, if you ever introduce a new offer, you're stuck recreating the entire process so you have a new marketing process that leads to that offer. Now, another option that we see oftentimes is people talking about just cycling through offers through launch or content. Now, this concept sort of makes sense, except it's built on the idea that people are consuming your content linearly. What I mean by this is that we're under the impression that people know what happens when it happens, rather than the reality is that content gets served to your audience based on algorithms, based on how busy they are. Meaning that if you're talking about a DIY offer one day and a done for you offer the next, the chances of them seeing both of these content pieces are slim. Now, let's take social media out of the equation and instead state that let's just pretend you're selling using email. And on Monday, you send out an email talking about your DIY offer, your course. And then on Wednesday, you send out an email to talk about your done for you program. The reality is the person who opened your email on Monday probably isn't going to go on to open your email on Wednesday, or vice versa, meaning that whatever email they opened, they're now conditioned to believe that that's the offer that you're selling, leaving them in a constant state of trying to find out what the next thing is or walking away altogether. Now, what we see happen is when we have a launch, we're essentially hedging our bets that the right people will be coming through at the right time. But what happens when you're super high intent buyer, the person who's a perfect fit for your high-end mastermind and is ready to pay in full, but you're in the middle of launching a DIY offer and they have no idea that your mastermind even exists. And even if they did, they don't want to wait 3 months until you launch it next. Now, the other thing that we see is people talking about the fact that they simply trust and putting faith that your audience will know what they need and which offer fits that need. The reality is your audience is confused. Before you even open your mouth, they're already trying to decipher the information that they're being sent to. Now, they're bombarded with so much information every single day that they need a Google spreadsheet just to keep track of what's happening. Now, imagine that they're just following just 6 people in your industry. And for each of those 6 people, they have 6 offers. That means that they now have 36 offers that they're trying to decipher between and see which fits their needs best. It's not that they lack the intellect, it's that when we're in a state of need where we're seeking out a solution, our natural course of action is to consume information in hopes that we can find the right solution, and that becomes crystal clear to us. And we all know how that goes. It's a rabbit hole of pros and cons lists and trying to figure out what the hell you actually need, nonetheless, what the right solution is to fill that need. Another version of common advice is that we're taught to take people through some version of an ascension value ladder, something that we've been taught maybe 6-7 years ago, because eventually, if we get people into our intro offer, that they'll eventually move into the next one and purchase our highest ticket offer. But again, we have to be real about this. The person who's interested and wants your intro offer and the person who wants the whole shebang are oftentimes at different spaces in their lives. And if you think about your own buying habits, if you had spent months searching for a solution, and finally, when you were presented with the one that you thought was perfect, but you find out it's a membership or a DIY course, you realize that that's not the solution you were looking for. You wanted someone to support you one-to-one. And most likely, you're not going to buy that membership, are you? No, you're going to look for someone who can support you leveraging a one-to-one model. Now, the last and final way that we see people teaching how you can sell multiple offers without confusing your audience is to just not sell multiple offers, which can oftentimes feel really limiting for passionate entrepreneurs. And whether that's because they feel like there's just so many different ways they can support their audience, whether that's one-to-one, one-to-many, done for you, etc., or because they see the value in supporting people with different areas based on their specific needs, and they want different offers that support that. Now, all of this to say, we need a better way because a confused audience doesn't buy. We know this. So how do we remove as much confusion while still allowing us to fill different gaps within multiple offers? I'm going to break down for you exactly what this looks like and how you can sell multiple offers without making our audience jump through hoops and without confusing ourselves or our audience in the process using method-based selling. Now, 5 years ago, I had 5 different offers. For each offer, I had a different marketing process or funnel. And for each of those offers, I'd run a launch to help the different audience know the offer that would be the best fit for them. And one day, a dream client that I had chatted with for a few weeks was now posting on her Facebook that she just signed up for a mastermind program that she was so thrilled about. I was totally devastated. I had spent countless hours speaking to this woman over the years, and here she was signing up with someone else. And a few weeks later, I was running a launch for my mastermind program, and she sent me a message saying, Naz, I'm devastated. I had no idea you had this mastermind, and I signed up with this other coach. Had I known, I absolutely would have waited to work with you. And I heard that again and again. People who wanted to work with me, but were confused on what offers I had and when. And that's the reality. Buyers don't want to do a ton of work to dig through your content or wait for you to launch to see what you're offering and if it fits their needs. They want solutions that are easy and quick to decide on. But I'd be skipping a step if I didn't stop to explain why this happens in our businesses by explaining that our audience actually consists of 3 types of buyers. Each of these buyers have specific and unique needs, desires, and timelines, and therefore require different solutions to meet those needs. So let's talk about how we can understand intent and the correlation it has to our offers. Now, if you've heard me talk about this before, you're going to hear me talk about this again, but we're going to talk about this in the sense of how it relates to our offers, because this is by far one of the biggest light bulb moments for people who enter into my world. Now, here's what you need to understand. Every single audience in every single industry consists of 3 types of buyers. There's high intent, mid intent, and low intent. Now, the high intent, AKA right now buyers, is someone who's actively seeking a solution and wants a solution right now. They've typically done their research. They're a sophisticated buyer who's seeking out an innovative solution that will solve their problem in a way that others haven't or can't. Now, mid-intent buyers on the other side are what I call like the maybe soon buyers. They know that they have a need and a desire, and they're either overwhelmed with information or not fully sold on what they need, or they're facing internal and external fears. Whatever it is, this buyer needs time and a very clear and direct pathway that makes the solution a no-brainer for them. Now, finally, there's the low intent buyer. This is someone who is either passively looking at a solution with no real intent to move forward, either because that problem isn't something that they're fully aware of, or they have other things that are taking priority, or lastly, they just don't have enough information. Now, they're the ones that you feel like you're convincing every step of the way, and it probably feels like you care more about their problems than they do. Now, a low intent buyer is someone who hangs out in your world for months or years, waiting to finally be ready. Now, they are the people who fill up your challenges or webinars. They consume information like it's water, but they're just not quite there yet. Now, every time you launch another offer, you probably think to yourself that this is the time that that type of buyer will finally jump in. And sometimes they do, but more often they don't. And it's not your fault or theirs. They're just not there yet. Now, your higher intent buyers, those are the ones that everyone talks about, the dream clients, the kind that enters your world one day and buys the next, the one who pays in full and sings your praises to everyone they meet. And they come into your programs and hit the ground running because your solution is the gift that they've been desperately waiting for. It has nothing to do with affluence and everything to do with intent. They've been waiting for this moment of change, and they will seize it with everything they've got. Are you drooling a little bit when I talk about that high intent buyer? You should be. They are amazing, and they're totally the gold standard. Now, here's the thing about high intent buyers. They're sophisticated and ready buyers. Any barriers in their pathway, and they move on. They want the fastest path to a yes. And if you give them too many choices, or you make them jump through unnecessary hoops like digging through your content to understand which offer they should pick, or if they see that you're busy promoting a DIY offer when they know what they need is a done with you offer, or heck, you even make them wait until you open cart in 2 months on the mastermind that is a good fit for them, then they're on to the next option. Your high intent buyer wants the offer that they can say yes to as soon as possible. And they typically want some built-in support. So a membership or DIY course isn't always the best fit. Whereas your mid-intent buyer is dipping their toes into the water, and for the right price, they'll jump into that course or membership just to see what it has to offer. Now, different buyers have different needs. I think we're all in agreement with that. Now, understanding their intent means that we also need to understand that there's a science and an art to meeting people where they're at without creating confusion or repelling our high intent buyers when we set them up with a low intent marketing process that leaves them guessing or wondering. So now that we understand the correlation between intent and how that relates to offer confusion, let's talk about creating a singular decision process. And no, that doesn't mean that you need to send them to a single offer, but rather create a singular decision to buy into your method. Now, we've talked a lot about confusion being the enemy of an easy yes. And the reality is there's nothing easier than asking your audience to just make one decision. Because when we set it up for your audience so that the only decision they have to make is a yes or a no, then we remove all the barriers that increase conversion times and leave you convincing and chasing. Method-based selling means no more convincing. It means no more chasing, and it makes it a singular decision. Think of it this way. Let's imagine that there's 2 ice cream stores close by, and you decide that you want to go get some ice cream. Now, store number 1 has a variety of ice cream flavors and combinations. And when you enter into their store, they have an entire process that allows you to easily taste test things and gives you suggestions based on your flavor preferences. Now, store number 2 on the other side requires you to place an order ahead of time before even entering the store. But let's be real, you have no idea if their chocolate brownie flavor is amazing or if it's going to be too bitter. And what if instead you think that maybe today I should get peanut butter graham cracker, but you just can't make that decision quite yet? You're more likely to go to store number 1 because it's setting you up to only need to make the decision that you want ice cream, and everything else is set up for you. Same thing goes in your business. You can set your audience to come into your world, give them detailed and clear messaging that outlines your methodology, and all they have to do is buy into that. Say yes. Now, once they buy into your methodology, you create a curated experience that directs them to the best fit offer for them. Let me give you an example using my business. My entire marketing and selling system is built around my methodology. So when I create content, I share my method. When I do a workshop, I speak to my method as the solution. And when I share what I do, I share my method. It's a singular line where my method is the answer to all of those solutions. Now, this does a few things. Number 1, it makes my competition irrelevant because I'm no longer competing against the millions of other online businesses that sell offers with the same basic components, things like calls and modules and worksheets, all the things that people are trying to decide what's the right fit for them. Instead, people are buying into my specific and innovative methodology. Number 2, it creates an easier and more effortless sales process. Think of it this way. Because people are buying into my innovative and unique how, aka my methodology, the sales process automatically becomes easier. People come in understanding your innovative methodology. They have a deeper buy-in, and the offer simply becomes a matter of finding what fits their individual needs. So when I get on a sales call with a client, they can repeat my EasyS method back to me because my singular marketing and sales system has used method-based selling, and they fully buy into that method. Heck, they can repeat my method back to me nearly verbatim because it's been all they've heard from me up until the call. Now, they haven't had to wrestle about which of my 3 offers are the right fit for them. All they needed to do was buy into my methodology. Then through 3 simple questions on a fitting call, I can determine which of my offerings fit their specific and unique needs. So then I can present them with a single offer. No confusion. No, is this what I should be doing? They bought into my method, and now I've presented them with the perfect solution that fits their specific and unique needs. Your offer is simply an application of your method, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute. Now, the third thing is that it creates longer-term buy-in and turning your message into a movement. I had a prospective client who I had spoken with over 3 years ago DM me recently saying how impressed and happy she was to see that I was still sharing the same message 3 years later. She had taken a break in her business to focus on raising her family, and when she came back, it seemed like everyone that she had once followed had made such major shifts that she didn't even recognize them anymore. Yet 3 years later, my message remained the same. Even though behind the scenes, so much had changed. I had removed offers and added new ones and completely revamped my singular marketing and selling system. But to my audience, I maintained the same message. Why? Because I didn't focus on offer-based marketing and selling, which requires a complete upheaval of your entire world whenever you decide to make a change in your business. Now, I could easily make changes to my offers, my ideas, and my method would still remain the same. And it would be the message and foundation that all of my audience would hear. Because each pivot that we're making in our business creates a fracture in our know, like, and trust. And you know that you have to work on rebuilding that relationship and restructuring your marketing, your target audience, etc., all to ensure that it still fits. Meanwhile, my clients have made total life and business changes, but because they had their innovative methodology, very little changed in their marketing and communication with their audience, which means they maintained their authority, positioning, and relationships even as they grew and evolved. So now that we've talked about what it looks like to create a singular decision so that you're not making your audience make multiple decisions along the way, but instead presenting them with just one decision and then every step after being individualized to their needs. So let's walk through how we leverage method-based selling in our EZS method. Now, the first step is developing your innovative gap methodology. You've seen that everything we're talking about here is based on your methodology, which means we need to start with that in mind. This is exactly what I help my clients do. This isn't your offer framework, which is what most people have been taught to do, or any other marketing crap that you've gone through before, I promise. Instead, we take a holistic approach at looking at your process, your clients, your skill sets, and the gap in the market, and identifying your innovation that allows us to pull it all together in your specific innovative gap methodology. Now that we have that in hand, we can apply this to your acquisition and retention, which leads us to step number 2. We create a singular marketing and sales system. Now, say goodbye to dozens of marketing funnels or running challenges and webinars to sell those different offers. Instead, imagine having just one singular selling system that sells your methodology. You go from one of many options to the only one because your methodology makes it crystal clear how you deliver results in a way that nobody else can. And that system is infused with a proprietary sales psychology formula that we developed called mimic decision making that mimics how your audience naturally makes decisions so that they simply go through your bingeable system and it turns a cold lead into your biggest raving fan that can't wait to say yes to you. Now, once we've developed that marketing and sales system that's based on your methodology, now it's time to give your clients out of this world results at scale every time. But even better is that your offers are simply an application of your method. So not only is it easier for them to say yes, but it's also easier for your clients to get success within your programs because it's a repeatable system that damn near guarantees your clients results. And you get to have multiple offers without any confusion. Let me show you exactly what this looks like and how we leverage offers that are simply an application of methodology. I'm going to use my own business as an example so you can see this firsthand. Now, our EZS method combines 3 core factors to create the result. So the first component is what we call innovative advantage. This is what I talked about when I said that we create your innovative gap methodology. We create this method and then combine that with a messaging system that's repeatable so that you can use this over and over again, creating your innovative advantage. Number 2 is our infinite sales highway. This leverages a singular marketing and selling system that we've already discussed. And by selling your methodology, removes all confusion about what offer they should move into. This creates instant buy-in into your methodology and allows your highest intent buyers to quickly binge their way to a yes. Now, as a part of this, we know and recognize that not all of your buyers are ready to say yes right now. And we realize that there's different ways for us to support people until they are ready to buy. This is why we have a secondary nurture system that moves people who weren't quite ready to purchase, say your mid-intent leads, into a weekly marketing system that specifically speaks to their targeted needs and creates a weekly client acquisition opportunity. This means that you don't need to have multiple different things going on. You can have one singular system that allows you to support people every time and moves them to making that fastest conversion possible. Number 3 is results and retention. This is creating the delivery system that creates world-class results for your clients every single time. Now, everything in my marketing and sales focuses on speaking to this methodology and how it solves for my clients' very specific needs. Now, I get to help my clients apply this method and meet them where they're at through 3 different offers that I have. There's my growth bridge, which is meant for businesses that are looking to create a repeatable client acquisition system, and it's built on this high intent messaging and positioning. This program only focuses on my second pillar of my EZS method. Whereas my Sustainable Profit Academy goes through my entire methodology, and my one-on-ones, it takes people through that entire methodology as well. Now, let's just say that I decide to create an offer that specifically works with corporate clients. Or maybe I decide to completely shift gears and create an arm in my business where I help people with public speaking skills. I could still apply those specific pillars to that pivot because it's rooted in my innovation and my skill sets and my specific process. And instead of needing new marketing, I simply share the offer that applies to my audience on the call. And the possibilities for my offers become endless because there's simply different applications to my main methodology. I'm no longer stuck with promoting just one offer or needing a bajillion different funnels or new marketing every time I decide to add new offers, because my offers are simply an application of my methodology. So you can see how method-based selling completely changes the game and flips typical offer-based marketing on its head, allowing you to create a singular pathway, creating faster and better conversions with clients, but still allowing you the flexibility of having different offers to meet your clients where they're at without creating confusion, which means you never lose a client through your selling process ever again. Now, what I want to offer to you is how you can apply a method-based selling system inside of your business, which means the next steps are to jump on a growth optimization call with me. What we'll do on this call is we'll look at your current process. We'll talk about where your biggest gaps are in how you're selling and how you can actually get more people to buy from you with just one singular method-based selling system. And I'll show you how the EasyYes method can be applied inside of your business. If you're ready to book that call, head on over to easyesleads.com/call. And if you want to experience our singular selling system firsthand, I want to invite you to check out our new audio series that takes you through the entire EasyYes method and how this has helped over 416 of my clients get their leads to sell themselves. So head on over to easyesleads.com to check this out now. And as always, if you've gotten value out of this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Go on over to Instagram at nextlevelupceo and send me a message and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. We also love and value when you share this message with other people. You can do this by subscribing to our episodes, by sharing an episode, or leaving a review for us. Now, until next time, here's to keeping it real.